Well, hello and good evening, guys. My name is Jacob Buckley, and I'm the director of Fire Pit Ranch, and I want to welcome you to the first annual Fire Pit Ranch Virtual Summit. Now, before we kick things off tonight, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who came alongside us during this pandemic. Thank you for believing in us enough and supporting us in the midst of all this uncertainty. There's no way we could have done this without you. Now, as we get started here this evening, I know there's many of you on this call here tonight that you know a lot about what goes on with Fire Pit Ranch. But there's also a lot of you on this call here tonight that might not know anything about what goes on with Fire Pit Ranch. You know, our mission is to bring hope, guidance, and love to a generation longing for purpose. And we do that through three different ways. One of our main areas of focus is we have events for fathers and their children, where we give fathers the opportunity to connect with their kids on a much deeper level by taking them on guided hunts, fishing trips, ATV rides, and all kind of stuff in the outdoors, giving them an opportunity to have experiences that they might not be able to find anywhere else. Another main area of focus for us is our corporate team building and leadership, where we go in and we work with different teams and different organizations and help them develop their communication and problem solving skills. That's an area of Fire Pit Ranch that we're really excited about, and that's starting to grow. But the area that we're going to spend the most time on tonight is called our Next Level Leadership Club. This is where we go in and we partner with the local school district. Starting at the 5th grade level, we go in and we select 12 boys in the 5th grade, and we mentor them all the way up through high school. You know, in Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, "Train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're older, they will not turn from it." We believe that at Fire Pit Ranch. You know, when we first started the Next Level Leadership Club 3 years ago, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. No idea. In the previous 2 years, we had been hosting events all over the place for high school boys. Everything from cookouts to ATV rides, fishing trips, all kind of stuff. And we had a blast. But we realized that we weren't seeing that significant change that we were hoping to see. And so we got together with our board of directors and a few other guys in our community, and we realized that in order to see the significant impact that we were hoping to see, we were going to have to reach these kids at an earlier age. That's when the Next Level Leadership Club was born. So we reached out to guys like a Chris Harvey, captain of the Roebuck Fire Department here in Roebuck, South Carolina. A guy who is heavily involved in his own kids' school districts. A guy like a Dr. Brian Spearman, who was a chaplain at the North Greenville University football team, who has helped dozens, if not hundreds, of kids walk through very challenging times in their lives. Guys like a Kyle Schuler, Walden Lacey, Mickey Sebeski, who has 30 plus years in education. My own dad, Seth Buckley, who has 30 plus years in youth ministry. We got those guys together. We came up with a plan, and the Next Level Leadership Club was born. And now that we're 3 years in, we're seeing that significant impact we were praying for. Those are the guys who helped us get this program off the ground. And where we're heading right now is very exciting. So after just a few meetings with the school counselors and principals, we realized very quick that there was an overwhelming need for what we had to offer. And it was amazing because the schools had such a difficult time selecting the boys who are going to be a part of this program because we have only a limited amount of slots available. It was a real challenge for these schools. And so what we decided to do was we looked at Jesus' model. Jesus had 12 disciples. So that's the number we landed on. Now, in each one of our programs, we have 12 boys that are selected to be a part of our Next Level Leadership Club in each school. And when we approach these schools, we ask them to give us the ones who have great potential but need someone to walk alongside them, someone to guide them. Do you know what's more common than anything else across the board in our Next Level Leadership Club program? Most of these boys don't have a father in the home. Not all, but most. That is a problem that shows absolutely no signs of improving anytime soon. That's why what we're doing with the Next Level Leadership Club is so important, by introducing a mentor into the lives of these boys. Now, I want you to think about the mind of a child for just a minute. I want you to understand how we got to where we are as a culture. And there's a lot of opinions out there, and we've heard them all, about how we got to where we are as a culture today. Things like, it started when we took God out of the schools, or the decrease in fathers in the home, or we're no longer a country of values. We've heard all those things. But nothing touches on the source of how we got to where we are as a culture. That source that I'm referring to is the mind. Did you know that the average person can have up to 60,000 thoughts per day? Think about TV, social media, all the text messages and phone calls we get every single day. 60,000 thoughts per day. That's straight from the National Science Foundation. Now, out of those 60,000 thoughts per day, up to 95% of those thoughts are repetitive. Thoughts that we have over and over and over again every single day. 95% are repetitive, but 80% are negative. What are some of those negative thoughts? I can never stick to a diet. I'll never be as successful as so-and-so. I'm always behind on my bills. 80% of those thoughts are negative. Now, for this illustration, let's use the number 50,000 for a second, okay? Let's say you have 50,000 thoughts per day. 95%, 47,500 of those thoughts stem from the previous day. 80%, 40,000 of those 50,000 thoughts are negative. That is amazing to think about. Now you might be saying, okay, what does this have to do with Fire Pit Ranch? It has everything to do with what we're doing here at Fire Pit Ranch. Now I want you to close your eyes for just a minute with me, just for a second. And I want us to build a mental image of a garden. I want us to think about what a garden looks like. If you've never planted a garden before, that's okay. But I want you to hold an image in your mind with me. Now I want us to walk through the stages of planting a garden. Okay, you have to start with the soil. You got to make sure the pH is right. You got the right fertilizer. And then, once those things have been taken care of, you can then plant the seed. Now, after you plant the seed, you got to make sure that seed has water. And over time, you'll start seeing a little plant burst through the dirt. And as that little plant continues to get the nutrients it needs, it'll then begin to blossom. And over time, you'll begin to see that plant start to bear fruit. And as long as that plant continues to soak up the nutrients it needs, it'll continue to bear fruit. Now I want us to use the same illustration of the garden to paint another picture. I want us to think about our mind. Think about the soil of a garden. That soil representing our subconscious mind. Now think about the seed. That seed representing our thoughts. Those 60,000 thoughts that I mentioned just a minute ago, those 60,000 seeds we're planting in our mind every single day. Now think about the plant bursting through the soil. That plant in our mind represents our beliefs. These beliefs are either positive or negative things that you think over and over and over again and have decided what is true about you and the world. As that plant continues to get the water and nutrients it needs, it then begins to blossom. Well, over time, as we continue to feed those thoughts and beliefs, those beliefs will turn into actions. And those actions, in turn, will produce results. As we continue to feed those beliefs such as, I can never catch up on my bills, or I'm terrible with sticking to a diet, those beliefs turn into actions. And those actions, in turn, produce results that are right in alignment with our beliefs. Whether we like it or not, we reap the harvest of our inner garden. Think about the mind of a child. The mind of a child which is so susceptible to everything that's going on around it. That's constantly soaking up thoughts of fear, anger, hate, hunger. Those thoughts, those seeds that are being planted in the mind of that child every single day turn into beliefs. Beliefs such as, I'm dumb. I'm not good enough. I don't have any friends. And those beliefs turn into actions. And those actions produce results. Think about a 22-year-old who, for the last 10 plus years of their life, ever since they were little, a 22-year-old who has planted millions of those seeds that I just talked about, millions of those seeds every single day of their life over the last 10 plus years. Seeds of fear, hate, anger, hunger. What do you really expect from them when they get to be 18, 20, 22 years old? What do you really expect? That is the cycle that we are committed to breaking at Fire Pit Ranch. In Galatians 6:7, it says, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. This is why the role of a godly mentor in a child's life is so important. Because when we introduce a mentor into the life of a child who's experienced all of those negative thoughts previously, now we have someone going in every single week introducing new thoughts of hope, love, encouragement, stability, trust. Those thoughts then become beliefs new beliefs, such as I'm loved, I have opportunity, I'm safe. Those beliefs turn into action, and those actions produce new results. That subconscious, that mind that we were talking about just a second ago, the mind of the child, has now taken on new life and new meaning. We become what we think about. You can't plant a tomato seed and expect to get apples. It doesn't work that way. You know, Einstein said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Don't underestimate the compounding effect of consistency. Guess what? When the schools are open, we're there. When these kids need direction, we're there. We are committed to giving these kids the consistency they need in order to help them build that solid foundation. But what role could a mentor play in a child's life? What role could a mentor play in anyone's life? The story you're about to hear is truthfully one that I've heard multiple times, and can honestly say that I'm on the edge of my seat every time I hear it, because I know Paul's story started out very similar to what a lot of our kids in the Next Level Leadership Club are experiencing right now. I've had the privilege of being coached by Paul Martinelli one-on-one for about a year now, and can honestly say that I have seen firsthand what the role of a mentor can play in someone's life. Paul has shared the stage with legends such as Zig Ziglar, John Maxwell, Les Brown, and many others. But Paul's life wasn't always that way. Paul's life started out very similar to what a lot of our kids in the Next Level Leadership Club program are experiencing. And Paul has a heart for people who have been wounded in the past just like him, and just like the kids in our Next Level Leadership Club. Join me now as we listen in to my friend and mentor, Paul Martinelli.
Hello and welcome. My name is Paul Martinelli, and I'm excited to spend some time with you. And I absolutely love Jacob and all that he is doing with Fire Pit Ranch. I'm a big believer in the work that they do. You know, normally as a speaker and trainer, helping people live their full potential, a message that I would be delivering today for you would be about how mentoring can help you change your life. This message is a little bit differently. This message is about how you can help somebody have their life changed by providing and supporting Jacob's program to find mentors and align them and connect them with young men in your community who really need it. Make no mistake about it, I think all of us know the power of mentorship. You know, I was raised in a broken home. My father left my family when my mom was 3 months pregnant with me. And, you know, my mom was raising 4 children on her own. And so we grew up poor. We grew up with struggle. And my mom was raised in a really difficult home, in an abusive home, and she learned that behavior, and then unfortunately modeled that behavior for me and my 2 brothers and sister. And so the home where I grew up was not only one filled with poverty consciousness, it was not a safe place to live. It wasn't a safe place physically. It wasn't a safe place emotionally. And there were two or three people in my life, mentors, that made all the difference in my life. You see, at 15 years old, I could have been going, one way or another way. And I was a altar boy at St. Bernard's Church, and Father Conley was one of the priests there, and he would work with all the altar boys. He was a black belt in karate, and he would have us every Saturday and Sunday up at the church, and he would be teaching us karate, but really mentoring us in our lives. And he would speak life and hope and possibility. That led me to being positioned to be connected with the Guardian Angels out of New York City. I was training then at a traditional karate school, and the Guardian Angels from New York City came into the city of Pittsburgh where I was living and started to train there. And it was there that I met my second mentor, Curtis Sliwa, the founder of the Guardian Angels. And again, I had just dropped out of school. I was just finished the 10th grade and had no hope of ever graduating. And again, mentorship came into my life. And, Curtis took me under his wing, allowed me to stretch and grow in a safe way, in a guided way. He saw in me what I couldn't see. He saw my potential. I would spend from the time I was about 15 and a half to the time I was 21 years old, serving as a guardian angel, traveling from New York City, all over the East Coast of the United States. I eventually landed here where I live now in Palm Beach County, Florida. And at the age of 22, I had a dream to be an entrepreneur. I took a couple of $100 that I had. I bought a used vacuum cleaner. I bought some window cleaner, some Pledge furniture polish, and I mop, bucket, and ringer. And I started going door to door asking people if I could clean their office at night. I was a janitor. And I had done that till I was about 24, 2 years. And it was hard work. But, I had been told my whole life by my grandmother, that if you work hard and you do honest work, you could get ahead in the world. And so I was acting on that belief. I was absolutely doing honest work, and I was absolutely working hard. But I certainly wasn't getting the promises of freedom or financial success. I was struggling. I was, living in an apartment with 4 other guys, and, we weren't all living together in a 2-bedroom apartment because we liked each other. We did like each other, but we were living there because we couldn't afford to live anyplace else. I would build my cleaning business, and if I would get a new account, I would lose one. If I would hire someone, another employee quit. I was just that gerbil on the wheel, 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and I was frustrated. And I did what most people do, when they're failing or when they're in struggle. I blamed everybody else, right? I blamed it on the economy. I blamed it on the government. I blamed it on my employees. I blamed it on my customers. I blamed it on the competition. I was living kind of the motto that, in order for me to get well, everybody else would have to go to the doctor, And then I got a mentor. Again, I say I got a mentor. I believe I'm a person of faith. So I believe that God puts angels in our lives. And I think through divine intervention, I walked into an office one day, and there was a gentleman there who was in his late 40s, early 50s. He was wearing a Tommy Bahama kind of flowered shirt. He had shorts on and flip-flops. He had wristbands on his left wrist. He must have had 10 or 12 of them. Every one of them was to save something. Save the whales, save the manatee, save the trees, save the planet. If it was for saving, this guy, Patrick, was all in. And he was highly successful. He was retired municipal bond trader from Wall Street. His brother ran the trading desk for Shearson Lehman Brothers. His father was the chief tax legal accountant for the largest corporation in the world at the time, Exxon. And so Patrick had grown up in prosperity consciousness. He'd grown up in wealth and then had generated his own wealth and was retired. And when I was trying to give Patrick the pitch to clean his office, he said, "Sure, kid, you can clean the office, but sit down. I think I could help you." And he reached behind him and he grabbed the book. It was a book written by Napoleon Hill titled Think and Grow Rich. And it was a brand new copy. And he said that he was going to mentor me through the book. I had never read a book. Now, it's not that I couldn't read. I could read, but I had never, academically, I never, had the discipline or really inclination to read a book. I'd failed every test I had taken. I didn't see the point in reading. I had, by this time, I had developed such a low self-opinion of myself, such a low self-image, self-esteem, that, I really didn't believe that I could learn. I believed that I was dumb and stupid. I believed that I was just going to have to play the cards that I was being dealt. And Patrick, again, he saw something inside of me that I couldn't see. And see, I think that's what Fire Pit Ranch is doing for young men is they're connecting them with mentors who can see their potential. So for most people, potential is not something we see in ourselves. We can see it in other people, and we can believe that there's potential in other things. We can believe that there's potential in getting a good education. We can believe that there's, potential in getting the right job or working for the right company. And the truth is that there's no potential in those things. There's great opportunity in those things for you to become aware of your potential, but the potential is, was, and always will be within us. And until someone holds up a mirror to that fact to us and makes us aware of our potential, you can't export that which you don't know you have. And Patrick would spend the next probably 3 years mentoring me through this book and just mentoring me through life. He was there once a week, just meeting with me. And, I've learned since then that perhaps one of the most powerful things is the compounding effect of consistency. The compounding effect of consistency. See, Patrick was unwavering in his belief. He was unwavering in his commitment to me. He was unwavering in showing up and being fully present. And he was unwavering in stretching me and pushing me and challenging me. The really interesting thing is that during that time, Patrick never invested time in telling me, what I should think. What Patrick did is he spent a lot of time teaching me how to think. Now that sounds funny because if you think about it, thinking is the highest function of which we're capable. It is how we create our lives. All through recorded history for the last 6,000 years in recorded history, all the great thinkers, philosophers, theologians, industrialists, capitalists have unanimously agreed on this one fact, is that you and I, we become what we think about. And yet, you can go from kindergarten all the way up to the 12th grade, graduate high school, go on, get a 4-year degree at college, even get an advanced degree in college, and never really be taught the critical skill of thinking as it relates to designing and creating the life that we would really love to live. For most people, we learn our thinking skills as a default of learning some system or process. 1 + 1 is 2, CAT spells cat. And whenever we kind of vary off of the track of kind of learning processes and systems, and we activate our own imagination, we begin to kind of daydream, there's a structure in school to kind of put a lid on that, to get your head out of the clouds, to quit daydreaming. It's the story of Walt Disney, isn't it? And Patrick allowed me the space to think freely and challenged me to really think and challenge the beliefs that I had. I would want to set a goal. At the time when I met Patrick, I was earning about $20,000 a year. And I told him if I could have a goal, it would probably be to, earn $100,000 a year, but, I'd never be able to do that. And he immediately interrupted that pattern and just said, why would you believe that? Why do you believe that you could never earn $100,000? And the truth is that that belief wasn't based on any any fact. Certainly it wasn't based on my truth. It was just based on the low self-opinion I held of myself. It was based really on all of my past results. I was living my life as though the past equaled the future, and we all know it doesn't. A strange thing happened from my mentorship with Patrick. I think the first off was that, everything about me changed. My whole perception of myself, of the world. Wayne Dyer said that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So certainly as I looked at the marketplace, as I looked at my business, things began to change in my business. But, when we start to look at ourselves, when we look at who we are, when we begin to really examine ourselves and evaluate, what our beliefs are and look at our competing commitments from, what we hold true in our hearts as our beliefs about ourselves and what we can be or do or have and dream for ourselves. There's oftentimes competing commitments. And if we can reevaluate what it is that we believe, oftentimes our beliefs change. I also went on to earn $250,000 pretty quickly, and within 5 years, I was had earned $1 million. Now, that's not supposed to happen for a high school dropout. It's certainly not supposed to happen for a janitor who's a high school dropout, but it did. And I would go on and build the largest privately owned commercial cleaning company in the Southeast United States. When I sold it in 2006, in fact, it was the largest independently owned commercial cleaning company that had been sold in the Southeast United States in 2006. But after 2006, I would go on as a speaker, a teacher, a trainer, a consultant, a mentor, and build businesses with other thought leaders. And I had the opportunity, truly the blessing, to be able to work with Zig Ziglar and Wayne Dyer and Brian Tracy and Dennis Waitley and Les Brown, all the great names, John Maxwell. And during that time, from 2006 to 2010, I had built 4 multi-million-dollar companies internationally. And again, I was able to do this because of mentorship. I was able to do this because someone early in my life saw potential in me, believed in me, and helped position me from one opportunity to the next opportunity. For many of us, we've been told that, success at some level occurs when we're in the right place at the right time. And oftentimes, young people who don't have a mentor don't stand a chance in being in the right place at the right time. Without mentorship, young people find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. And unfortunately, at 14, 13, 12, some of the decisions that we make at that very early age can carry consequences that affect us for the rest of our lives. I mean, we could just without the proper mentorship, a 12 or 13-year-old kid can make a decision to open a door in their life that closes doors for the rest of their life. There is real power in mentorship, and what's being offered to all of you today is this opportunity to help an organization that is willing to find. They're willing to do all the hard work. They're willing to find the young kids and screen them and find the kids that really need it the most, and who know they know that these kids are willing to do the work. They're also willing to find the men who are willing to mentor them, to find the men who are saying, I'm willing to give an hour of my life every single week for a year or longer, and to take the responsibility to mentor this young man through a proven program. But it takes money to do that. It takes resources to do that. And for many of us, it's easier for us to write a check than it is for us to be able to show up every week for an hour. Not that we wouldn't want to do it, but sometimes it just doesn't fit in our life. But there is a way for you to serve. There's a way for you to even mentor from a distance. You see, if Father Conley, if Curtis Sliwa, if Patrick Hayes weren't there for me at those critical times in my life to keep me on a path, to help me change my belief about myself, I don't know where I would have been. 2010, I had an opportunity to have lunch with the number one named leadership expert in the world, John Maxwell. And at that lunch at his private country club at Jupiter Hills in Jupiter, Florida, I cast a vision for a business partnership with John. And, as I held that lunch meeting with John and I cast the vision for John, I realized that I was pulling lessons from every single one of my mentors, that I was pulling experiences of my life that allowed me to be at that lunch table with John Maxwell, to talk about a business partnership. I would imagine there would be thousands of people that would have wanted to be able to have a lunch with John Maxwell and discuss a business partnership with him. But see, through mentorship, I was just uniquely positioned. I was uniquely gifted opportunities and experiences that prepared me for that meeting. In that meeting, John said, yes, I'm willing to take the next step. I put together a business plan and a pro forma. In 2011, John and I launched a company called the John Maxwell Team. In 10 years, we built the largest training organization for leaders, coaches, speakers, and trainers. Over 38,000 coaches and speakers and trainers, people who wanted to be agents of change in the lives of other people from 162 different countries. That company went on to generate in those 10 years literally hundreds of millions of dollars. The flagship program within the John Maxwell Team is a mentorship program. It was the first thing I did. Once we launched the program, the very first program we built was a mentorship program, because we knew that whenever somebody's really committed and really ready to change their life, they have to do it themselves, but they can't do it alone. They need access, they need influence, and they need experience on their side. Imagine being a 12 or 13-year-old kid from a broken home. Imagine not having someone model excellence. Imagine not having someone model character. And imagine that you're in today's world with all the access to social media, with all the things that are going on in today's world, with all the problems we have today. And you're left to yourself to navigate that at 12 or 13 years old. You're at 12 or 13 years old, you're challenged with the discernment about the decisions that you're going to make in your life. And again, in today's world, a young person at 12 or 13 years old can make a catastrophic decision, can make a decision that could follow them and tarnish them for the rest of their lives. As I said, they can open a door to one thing that might shut doors to opportunities for the rest of their life, whether it's starting to be involved with a gang or with drugs, crime, or if it's just developing just poor habits that that end up, with an undisciplined life. And we all know what happens when a young child at 12 or 13 doesn't understand how to live a disciplined life and isn't challenged and encouraged and modeled what that looks like. What do we expect from that young person when they're 18, 21, 25, 30, when they become a father? So tonight is really about an opportunity for you to make a really big difference, for you to align yourself with a vision, a proven vision. I know that Jacob is going to share with you the statistics of the work that they've been able to accomplish already, the high demand that there are in school districts wanting and needing more mentors. There are more kids than there are mentors. And Jacob has a process now to be able to find those mentors. And now the problem is how can we put in training programs, and how can we fund getting these mentors to these young kids? And that's where you come in. For a relatively insignificant amount of money, you can make such a significant impact in the lives of another person. Patrick Hayes spoke into my life when I was 24 years old. Nobody would have thought that he would have been speaking into the life of a person who would go out and literally touch the lives of millions of people. Because of Patrick, I am who I am and where I am today because of his mentorship. Now, I understand that I made the decisions, and I understand that I did the work. And this isn't a lesson on humility. This is a message of reality. That had I not had Patrick's mentorship, I would not be here. I have a social media presence that has over 2 million people. I've got a network, again, of coaches and speakers and trainers all over the world. And those tens of thousands of coaches and speakers who've been now resourced with leadership information, character building information, youth training, they're out in their communities touching the lives of other people. It truly is the butterfly effect. I just want to encourage you. You're not on this call by accident. You're here really by divine appointment. And I would just ask that you act with speed. In other words, there's a tendency that when you're part of a program like this, afterwards you say, let me think about it. Maybe tomorrow or the next day I'll consider it. I want to just encourage you that you make a quick decision tonight. That again, for a relatively insignificant amount of money, you can make such a significant impact. And you don't know who one of these kids is going to be in the future. You don't know how wonderful and fantastic their lives could be. You don't know who they're going to touch, what they'll create in the world. But I think we can almost predict without fault, that without mentorship, without somebody coming in and really helping these young men see their God-given potential, without having someone speak life and possibility into their lives, I think we can predict with almost 100% certainty where they'll likely end up in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's not something that we want for them or for our communities. At a time and age where most people sit on the couch and watch the evening news repeating the statement that somebody's got to do something, you have before you right now an opportunity to do something. I want to just encourage you. Click onto the link below tonight. When Jacob asks you to step in and make a donation, I want to just encourage you to do that. And you can know that by doing that, you have placed a trusted adult into the life of a young man who needs it, who's in a place right now where they need it at a time when they need it most. See, the school districts went through all of the names. And they had to cut the list because there were only so many mentors. So the demand is great. The demand is great. The willingness of Jacob and his team at Fire Pit Ranch is there. And they can get more. They can get more mentors. They can do even greater work. But it takes money. It takes money. And I just want to encourage you that you're not here tonight by accident. You're here by divine appointment. You know, for most Americans, we were given a stimulus check. I'd encourage you to maybe use some of that money for this. Whatever amount you can give. Because you will be a difference maker, an agent of change in the life of a young person. You can do for a young man in your community what Patrick Hayes, Father Conley, and Curtis Slewa did in mine. I want to thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time tonight. God bless, be well.
Thank you, Paul. What a powerful testimony about just how important it is for all of us to have a mentor, for all of us to have somebody we can look up to. And speaking of having a mentor that we can look up to, I want to share with you a story about a young man in one of our programs who is worth the cost of investing in. Now, for privacy reasons, I can't share his name, but I can share his story. This young man joined one of our programs last year, and right away, we could see that this kid was desperately searching for hope. And there was one of our mentors in particular who immediately got attached to this young man. And they started to form a bond that is now inseparable. You know, as the program went on last year, we could tell that this young man had several areas of his life that he was really struggling in. And it didn't help that COVID came along for most of our boys, because that was a long stretch, a long period of time to be away from this program. But this fall, we picked right up where we left off. But we started to see pretty quick that this young man started to slip in some areas of his life that were throwing up red flags for us. And it started causing some concerns. And after a few meetings with the guidance counselor and the mentor sitting in on some of those meetings, that mentor made a commitment to help this young man get through this challenging time. And with the mother's consent, this mentor started to pick him up from his home, taking him to and from school for several weeks. Now, this is a level of accountability this young man has never experienced before. After just a few weeks of this mentor taking this young man under his wing, this young man who was failing all of his classes, not turning in any of his assignments, sleeping on a beanbag in a motel with no way to heat up food, an 11, 12-year-old experiencing all of these things going on in his life. After just a few weeks of this accountability with this mentor, he started to turn in all of his assignments and went from failing all of his tests and quizzes to now making A's and B's. He's now one of our most improved students. That is a success story. And that is our level of commitment to each one of these boys. But in order for an organization like this to run, there's a cost. There's a cost to getting involved. Whether that's giving an hour of your week, each week, to serve as a mentor, or sponsoring a child. Either way, there is a cost to get involved. But there's also a cost for not getting involved. If you want to see what I'm talking about, turn on any news outlet for 5 minutes. Scroll through social media for 10 or 15 seconds. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The perpetuation of that cycle is what we at Fire Pit Ranch are committed to breaking. This coming year, we expect to have over 400 boys in our program. That means we will need 400 sponsors. One sponsor for each one of these boys. It only takes $1,085 to sponsor one kid for the entire year. That sponsorship includes cost of food for each session when we go in with these boys, field trip expenses, and training for our mentors. Like Paul said earlier, that is a relatively insignificant amount of money that could make a significant impact on a child's life. You'll see on the screen below our Venmo username as well as our P.O. box in case you wanted to mail a check. I'm going to encourage you to get involved tonight. Make a difference. I'm going to leave you with one final thought. What did Jesus do with his disciples? He mentored them. Why did he spend so much time with his disciples every day? Because he wanted them to be prepared. He wanted them to be ready for whatever came their way. That is the same model that we are using here at Fire Pit Ranch. And what we're doing, folks, is bigger than any one person. It's bigger than any one person. That's why right now I'm asking you to jump in with both feet. Don't wait. Sponsor a kid tonight. As Andy Stanley said, do for one what you wish you could do for many. If we want to see change in the world out there, it's got to start right here. It's got to start right now. God bless.